let's look at the first passage. This passage was on goals and impulses, and it said that because human beings are intelligent, they tend to make mistakes. So let's now look at the passage and summarize as we read, which is what you should do for every passage before we attempt the questions. Modern economic theory doesn't assume that we are unemotional, calculating, or wise individuals. Far from it. It deems whatever consumers want to be valid, no matter how damaging. It has at its very heart a very strong assumption of general infallibility. The criticism of economic doctrine gets it wrong, the wrong way around. So he says the criticism about economic doctrine is wrong. What is modern economic theory? As far as modern economic theory is concerned, people are not less rational than it supposes, but considerably more rational. If rational means, now he's made a statement that people are not less rational, they are more rational than you assume them to be. But that depends on your interpretation of the word rational. If rational means having reasons to do something, then people are more rational than what is assumed. Then he explains why. Behind each decision we make, there typically stretches a landscape of beliefs, plans, and objectives. And he gives an example of how we buy an microwave. By buying a microwave, so my mind is going far ahead. I'm buying a microwave perhaps to avoid cooking. The objective might depend on my doubt, will I ever learn to cook? That assumption might depend on whether cooking is a skill that I want to invest time in learning, which might depend on the preconceptions about learning new skills. So there are a series of interconnected thoughts, plans, and objectives behind every action. And the microwave example has been given to tell you how that happens. Goals, and then he comes to the part where he starts talking about goals and objectives and impulses. Goals are intimately connected to the possibility of errors. Goals tend to form nested hierarchies. They tend to form hierarchies. Crucially, each objective is contingent or dependent on it advancing the objective it answers to in the hierarchy above it. So goals are in the form of a hierarchy, a ladder, one thing leading to the next level. A goal is distinct from a mere impulse. This is the next important statement in the passage. A goal can potentially render other preferences mistaken. Impulses cannot. You can make mistakes where goals are concerned, but not where impulses are concerned. Your impulses to stay at a party cannot be mistaken simply because you have a competing impulse to call it a night. Then he shows you why goals, you can make a mistake where goals are concerned, but not with impulses. Gives the example of staying out at night. The fact that some of our preferences are contingent on others and so can be mistaken is what allows people to persuade one another. Because our preferences are dependent on each other, dependent on other things, that is why people are able to persuade you to do something or not to do something. If you and I realize that we share the same goal, say, of reducing traffic accidents, you can seek to reason with me that my immediate preference in the matter is to vote for a particular policy with that objective in mind is mistaken. You can persuade me that you are wrong in voting for that policy. If instead you believe that my inclination to vote for that policy is a facet of my personality, if it's just part of you instead of just a preference, then you won't even try to persuade me. It is my preference, then that is the end of the matter. Persuasion is not open to you. Your only hope is to join forces with enough like-minded people and then silently and grimly outvote people like me. So basically he tells you what's the difference between why we can be persuaded and when we cannot be persuaded. To err is human. Missteps, misapprehensions, misspeakings, momentary lapses, mess-ups are part of the fabric of life. To err is human. We make lots of mistakes and they are a part of our life. Yet, we are capable of making mistakes precisely because we are thoughtful, intelligent beings with complex goals and sincerely held values. Because we are human beings with goals and values, we think, we are intelligent, we are thoughtful, therefore we make mistakes, not the other way around. We shouldn't be able to if we were otherwise. Regrets, we have had a few, but we are wiser for them. This is the passage. Difference between goals and impulses, and how it is our intelligence, our thoughtfulness that makes us prone to errors. That's the main point. Which of the following options is the author of the passage likely to support? Our ability to give reasons for our actions makes us infallible. Infallible means cannot make a mistake. Is that what the author says? That because we give reasons for our actions, we cannot make mistakes? No, that is exactly the opposite of what has been stated. So the author is not likely to support this answer. Economic theory is incorrect in assuming that people are irrational. Economic theory says, what is the first paragraph? He says, economic theory assumes that we are more rational than we are more rational than economic theory assumes. So economic theory doesn't assume that we are irrational. It thinks that we are rational. So this is also against what has been said in the passage. Since people make decisions and choices, they can make mistakes in those choices. Yes, he says our ability to take decisions and choices is what makes us prone to errors, and that also is because we are making those choices using our intelligence and our thoughts. Correct? So this is, yes, the author would agree with this. Let's look at the fourth option. Goals and the possibility of errors are mutually exclusive. That means one and the other cannot exist together, which is not what the author says. Author says human life, to err is human, so we keep making mistakes, but still he does not say we can't achieve our goals if we make errors. Therefore, the correct answer is C.